Rockies.
Well, sense of pride, gratifying feelings to be able to take this group to the NCAA tournament for a second straight year?
Sure. Yeah, very thankful. Very thankful.
This hasn't happened in the school since the 1980s. I mean, is that kind of when it's so? This is, doesn't like it happens every day around here. What does that say about this group of guys and that they're able to make this accomplishment happen?
Only 3 guys that played last year will play this year. I think that's just as big a story as any. Maybe that's not the historical context to the answer that you wanted, but specific to the group that we have, that only 3 guys played last year that'll play this year, that's a lot more turnover than I think probably has been written about throughout the season.
Well, you know, different coaches measure programs and their program success. You know, Final Four, some measure tournament berths. What do you measure this program's success? How do you measure it? You know, back-to-back tournaments now, first time since the 80s. How do you measure success for this tournament, for this team? Lives
change for the better. Managers, trainers, coaches, GAs, players. I think our metrics and how we think of things are probably different than how Twitter or social media thinks of things. If we're only validated by winning, we're very shallow. And I understand in the end that's how I'm judged, and I'm okay with that. But I for sure never got into the business just to win games. I'm thankful for the experience of playing in the NCAA tournament, not for me, but for the lifetime memory that our kids will have. But that's not the metric by which I try to run our program or think of our kids or anybody in our program.
Dennis. Coach, what do you think about playing Alabama? What do you know about the Crimson Tide?
Coach is one of my favorite people ever. Incredible life story in many respects. I've known him for a long time. I absolutely love him. He's done an incredible job at Alabama. And I would say they have arguably the #1 point guard in the NBA draft. He signed the Alabama Player of the Year last year, Petty, who's can really, really shoot. I can't remember the forward's name. He's 6'9", plays really hard. I don't know if it's Ingram or Hall, but it's one of those two. He's really replenished the roster. John Pelfrey has done a great job helping him. The former point guard that played there has done a really good job. I think you pay attention as a coach anytime a coach takes over a program that needs a lot of work. And I've kind of paid attention to those Power 5 changes in my 4 years here just because I'm familiar with all that goes into it. I think Coach has done a fabulous job.
Travis.
Hey, Coach, you alluded to it a little bit, but Kerry, Devin, and Chris were a part of the team last year but didn't get to take part in the tournament for different reasons.
Yep.
Given the contributions of those 3 this year, how gratifying and satisfying is it to see them have an opportunity like this?
Yeah, for sure. Devin's never done it. So Devin finished in last place as a freshman. He finished in last place as a sophomore. And, you know, since February the 5th, that was the day after we lost to Miami, if there was only one person that you could point to that engineered the change, it would be him. And so as Laser said, I think it's only fitting that we're playing in Pittsburgh, and he's had the impact on our team over the last 5.5 weeks that he's had.
Did you catch any of Alabama in the SEC tournament this past week?
I watched a little bit of it. Coach and I are great friends, so I haven't studied them at all. I know how good Sexton is. I know Petty can really, really shoot. I know they have 2 forwards. I can't remember their numbers, Hall and Ingram. Really good. And I do think that Sexton will be the #1 pick as a guard, point guard, in the draft in a few months. But I haven't studied him. I'll start it when we get done here.
So how did you and Avery Johnson get to be
I just love people that walk through mountains and that's pretty much his whole life story. Played at Southern for arguably one of the greatest historically black coaches ever, Ben Jobe. He's always been good to me. Obviously, I'm from Texas, so when he was with the Mavericks, got to know him a little bit, and he loves Mason and Bubba. And so he's just always been really kind to me. He texts me periodically. I text him periodically. But I saw a little bit of their game, but not all of it. I think they got beat by Kentucky, so they won the previous 2 games. I didn't see the A&M game. It was a last-second shot. Were we playing that day?
No. They played
on Thursday. Yeah. So we were traveling, so I didn't see that game. Who did they beat the day after that? I saw that game, and then saw Avery's interview with Dykes after the game, but I didn't see him play Kentucky.
Last year, you said you kind of expected what seed you were going to be last year going into the tournament. You said Wisconsin was one of the best, 9 seeds you've ever seen.
Yeah. We were in 8 last year?
Sorry, other way around. Sorry.
That's what I thought.
This year, what do you think? You guys right where you should be? What do you think about Alabama?
Yeah, I never want to be one of those coaches that's griping or complaining or recruiting the committee for any sort of reason. I know a lot of those people. I think they take great pride in that. And I think similar to what has happened in years past in my career, when there's 9 teams from one league, some of the regions and the seeds and the math behind it, it may not necessarily mean that's what your seed is. So what line are we on the S curve as an 8? Has anybody figured that out yet?
Well, Villanova's the number 2 overall seed, so.
So does that mean we're second, though?
They haven't released the full seed list yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying you could figure it out, right? If, like he's saying, if Villanova's 2 and you're going a backward S curve, we're the 3rd, 8th seed. So that means we're 24th. I don't know if we're a top 25 team. Nobody's ever voted for us to be that all year long. So maybe there was some math behind that, relative to Virginia and Duke and Carolina. I don't know.
You've won games in the NCAA tournament, so you know what it takes. Does this team have the ingredients based on their big-time wins this year to be able to do it this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think the more experience you've had, the better. The more big games you've played in, the better. The more versatility your roster allows, the better. And the versatility is not just offensively, but it's defensively, because you're gonna have unique matchups on both ends of the floor. And I think when you have experience of playing against really good players in really big games, I think that all trends in a good way. Alabama's had that same experience. That there were guys on our roster that watched it and guys on our roster that lost last year. I think that's valuable. I know this sounds wrong. I think it's valuable now how we lost to Notre Dame. You would rather that happen in the conference tournament than the NCAA tournament. And if that hardens you or that's a lesson you can grow from and it helps you advance in the NCAA tournament, then it was worth it. If you don't, then it wasn't worth it. But I like our group. I think if you study the numbers of what has transpired, I think there's been some really historical things happen this year.
We have time for one more question for Coach.
Coach, has the loss to Notre Dame been somewhat of a good teaching material for you? Have you guys gone over that second half and tried to decipher what?
I've talked to him about it. Bibbs said we watched tape. That's just because Bibbs is a really good kid. We haven't watched any tape. I don't want to watch tape of it. I don't think that's the right play. At this time of the year, I don't think it's the right play. They know exactly what happened. And no matter who we would play this week, if we do the same thing, we'll have the same result. And can we grow from it? Can we learn from it? For us to have played defensively as well as we played the first 23 minutes and then to play as bad as we did the last 17 minutes, if you can't learn from that by experiencing it, watching it probably is not going to help. But those two guys are for sure two of the leaders of the group, and I think that hopefully it'll propel us this week.
Thank you, Coach.
Well, Devin, after playing on last-place teams for a couple times in your career, and now you get to finish up, not getting to play last year in the NCAAs, what does it mean to you to get to finish up your career by playing in the NCAAs and to do it in Pittsburgh of all places?
It means everything. The story is kind of funny. You know, it didn't start off too well, but you know, it's starting to finish off very, very well. And so hopefully we can kind of pick up from where we left off last game, learn from it, and kind of take it into this next game and use it to our advantage.
Justin, you played on a last-place team, and you're getting to end your career with back-to-back trips to the NCAA tournament. Both of you seen the program grow over the years. What does it mean to you to be able to finish it off with a second straight NCAA appearance?
Yeah, it means a lot. You know, that's kind of the reason why I came. Obviously I knew where Virginia Tech was and you know how they finished, but I want to be a part of, you know, a piece into rebuilding the program, and I'm happy to do along with him, and I'm happy that we're going back to his home place and just to hopefully, you know, make a run for it.
It should be a quick trip for your family too, right? Being from Dayton.
Yeah, you heard it, yeah. Yeah, how far is our drive?
About 3.5 hours.
3.5, that's nothing. Yeah.
Compared.
That's nothing.
Both of you guys, I asked Buzz the same question. How do you guys measure success as far as your team, your unit? You know, some Final Four, some programs measure it, tournament bids. What do you guys measure? What's your bar for measuring this team's success?
I would just say, honestly, just winning each game. Every time we win, you know, it's a different celebration. It's a different feeling in the locker room because we haven't done it. You know, when you beat, you know, UNC at home, Duke at home, go to UVA, you win. Like, no one in this room has ever really experienced that before. So it's all very, very new. But, you know, that benchmark, like I said, I think it's kind of cheesy to say, but we really try to embrace the one game at a time and embrace each moment as we can. So because there's been so many this year, and then this is just another moment that we get to try and embrace and try to capture.
First impressions on Alabama. Did you guys get to watch them at all during the SEC tournament during the regular season?
Yeah, I watched them. They're very talented. Scorers, they have some bigs. Outside shooter, obviously their point guard is really nice, and that's all I really know from them.
Yeah, I haven't watched too much, obviously, because I try not to pay attention to most of that stuff. Try to be surprised by the moment. But I know, like you said, Sexton's a very good guard. They have a lot of good guards, some good bigs, and they made a little bit of a run in their tournament. You know, a game winner, taking out Auburn as well. So they're riding high, while we were kind of riding low this last week. So it'll be interesting to see those two kind of things clash together, and hopefully it turns out to be a good game.
After the loss in Notre Dame, are guys just dying to get back on the court and play a game again and kind of erase that taste maybe, or?
For sure, yeah. The way we finished that game wasn't how we wanted to by any means, you know, but that's something that I think we go into the NCAA tournament going, hey, the worst has kind of happened. You know, we everything that has happened bad this year has happened, and now we can forget about it and start a new season. So everyone's been itching to get back out there. Now that we know who we play, it kind of makes things a little bit more intense and a lot more attention. So hopefully we just embrace it the most we can.
How's it feel being part of a group that is taking Virginia Tech back to the tournament for 2 years in a row for the first time since the 1980s? Puts this in a lot of perspective. That's a long time.
Right.
All right.
I can't think of any adjectives to, you know, how I feel or anything like that. I mean, it's just a blessing just to be in this position. I mean, you dream about, you know, bringing a team like this to the tournament, but now that's actually happened, it's like you don't know what to do. It's just can't wait to get on the practice. You know, can't wait to get in practice and be around my guys. That's really it.
What this kind of shows, you must feel like you're leaving the program in a pretty good shape here, where you're able to leave the program with back-to-back NCAA appearances as you head out the door here.
Yeah, that's the goal. Right?
That is the goal.
You come into a team where they finished last place, then in my case we finished last place again. You know, you want to take it up to the highest show in college basketball, which is the NCAA tournament. So that's what you come to Virginia Tech for. You know, it's different than the Dukes and the UNCs, where you know they're routinely in the NCAA tournament just because they're good, talented, and all that. But when you come to a place like Virginia Tech, who's finishes last, you know, that's what you work for to get to this moment, and then you gradually just go along.
Was it a pain sitting through the alphabetical order of all the at-large teams?
It was awful.
It was awful, but I like how they did with it, the whole show. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switched it up.
Pittsburgh was an option.
Yeah.
Very aware.
Yeah, I was.
He knew that was
I
up.
was. Obviously, my friends, they all look into that stuff, so they always text me like, "Oh, you might be playing. Give me a ticket. Give me a ticket." And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna get you a ticket." But you know, you're aware of it, obviously, but you never know where you're gonna end up. So I'm happy that I get to go back, and for once, my parents don't have to travel.
Just you guys did obviously went to the NCAA last year, didn't win that opening game. You had a
Right.
Wisconsin team. Based on who you guys, the big time teams you guys have beaten this year, do you feel like this team's capable of not just getting the NCAA tournament now, but actually winning this game Thursday?
Yeah. Believe it or not, we have experience because the teams we played against, the Dukes and the UNCs and Virginia, those are NCAA games basically. And I think that, just building from what we learned through all our games, Notre Dame, you know, it's sad to say it, but they're NCAA team. You know, they didn't make it, but they still are. And I think we could just, from what we learned and from how we played against those teams, you know, just put it all together. And we just have to see when we play them, I guess.
Anything else for the players?
Both you guys, the end of the Notre Dame game was painful, but do you feel like you learned something in that second half that can be of benefit in this next ball game?
I would say that we learned just that it's not ever over. What was it, 21-point lead I think we blew? So it shows that and that was in the last 15 minutes of the game. It took 15 minutes for them to catch up. So that it shows that nothing's over, and you know that magical things happen in March. So I think that's something that we can learn from what they did, is that to never kind of give up, even if you're tired. Just keep fighting, keep chipping away at the score. You know that things can kind of go your way towards the end of the game.